This video is kindly brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform to create a beautiful online presence.
Hi, my name's Janelle and welcome back to Rosery Apparel. In this video, I'm going to be sharing my 10 top sewing patterns for complete beginners. If one of your goals this year is to get into making your own clothes, then hopefully you will find this video helpful and it will give you a few ideas of some of the sewing patterns and garments you can try and make as a complete beginner. Before I get into the patterns, I did just want to mention that I have created a whole sewing for beginners series here on this channel. So if you're starting from complete scratch and wanting to learn how to sew, I'll leave that playlist down in the description below. It goes through all the basics like the sewing tools you'll need, how to actually use a sewing machine, how to go about buying fabric. There's like a good dozen videos in that playlist that just cover all the basics of sewing. So I'll leave a link to the playlist down in the description below if you wanted to go and check that out. I think you will find it helpful. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Let me show you my 10 top sewing patterns for beginners. I've actually saved them all on my Instagram so I can actually show you examples of what the garments look like. The pattern I'm going to be starting with is one that I just think is the perfect sewing pattern for beginners, and that is a pair of PJ shorts or boxer shorts. I actually shared this sewing pattern here. It's a free pattern on my channel. It is just a very simple pair of elasticated boxer shorts. They also have pockets, which is something that I personally like in my pajama and boxer shorts, but they are completely optional. You don't have to put them in if you don't want to. And the reason I think a pair of boxer shorts like this is the perfect sewing pattern for beginners is because the stakes aren't that high. They don't have to be perfect, I guess is what I'm saying. You can have a go at making them, and if they're not perfect, it doesn't really matter because you'll only be wearing them to bed. No one's going to see them. But at the same time, it still covers a whole range of different sewing techniques that you will need in more advanced garments. You're going to be making an elasticated waistband. You'll have to do things like sew along curves and stuff, which does take a little bit of practice, but once you've got it, you can kind of sew anything. And the free pattern I created is quite an oversized fit, so you won't have to be super pedantic about getting the sizing spot on because they've got a lot of give, and the elasticated waistband helps with that as well. So yeah, that is pattern number one, and in my honest opinion, the best sewing project you can start with if you are a complete beginner. The second pattern I have to share with you is this one here. It is called the Side Tie Top by Steph Time, or SM Lennox on Instagram. I have to be honest, I haven't made this pattern, but I can just tell by looking at it, it's going to be such a good pattern for beginners. It's just a really simple tank top with these super adorable ties at the side to be able to tie the top up. Very straightforward, very simple. You could also, if you're a bit more advanced, have a go at making a quilted version like this one here. But if you're a beginner, you don't have to do that. You can just use normal fabric and it will still turn out so cute. This top looks like it's been finished off nicely with bias binding, and sewing with bias binding is a really helpful technique to know how to do. So you may as well get started straight away and use a project that has bias binding in it. And I have shared a full step-by-step tutorial on how to use bias binding in my Sewing for Beginners series, so I'll leave that video linked below as well, so you can get a good overall idea of how to go about using it. It's way easier than it looks. I should also mention I'll have all the patterns linked down in the description below as well. So all the patterns and tutorials I'll be mentioning in this video will be linked below, so you can go and find them and make them for yourself. The next pattern I have to share with you is actually one of my own sewing patterns, and that's the pansy dress. This is like my ultimate beginner's sewing project that I offer. This dress I'm wearing is actually a pattern hack of my pansy pattern. So you have lots of different options. You can just make the base pansy dress, which is super cute, oversized, and has these really lovely puffy sleeves. Or you can have a go at one of the hundreds of different pattern hacks I have up on my channel to make different variations of this dress. I'm really proud of this pattern, and I think it's a really versatile dress pattern to have in your stash, and definitely a good one for beginners. Again, this dress has a bias binding finish along the neckline with a little tie closure at the back, which means there's no need for a zip or anything technical like that. It's one of these dresses that you can just throw on over the top of you and it's good to go. Hence why I think it is such a good one for beginners. It's also quite an oversized fit, so again, you don't have to be pedantic about getting the sizing 100% perfect. Even if you make a size up to 2 size too big or small, it should still fit you and look nice. I've also got a full step-by-step video tutorial to go along with it, so if you wanted to watch that first to see if you're up for the challenge, you can do that. The next pattern I have to share is the Freya pattern by Veronica Tucker. I made this pattern a few years ago and it's honestly such a good one for beginners. It's a simple A-line shift style dress, which again means the sizing is very flexible, but what really makes this pattern incredible are these beautiful statement sleeves. They're just so gorgeous, and I was shocked at how easy they were to make. They've just been made with a bunch of strands of elastic, which for a dress that looks really impressive like this, it's honestly so easy to make and any beginner could definitely attempt it. It again has bias binding on the neck edge and a little tie closure at the back. So this is another easy non-zip make because when you're a beginner, zips are definitely intimidating and you kind of need to work your way up to them. So if you can avoid them when you're first getting started, that is always a bonus. And the Freya pattern also comes with a blouse version as well. So you've got options there. If you want to just make a blouse to start with, you can do that and then work your way up to the dress. But either way, I wanted to include this pattern in this video because it is stunning and such a good pattern for beginners. The next pattern I have to share with you is actually not a pattern at all. It is this gathered skirt here that has just been made up from a few rectangles of fabric. I have shared the step-by-step tutorial to make this skirt on my channel, and yeah, you can literally draft up the pattern yourself. I go through all the steps and share all the measurements on how to go about doing that. This skirt also has an elasticated waist, so it's super simple and therefore is able to be made to your waist measurements, so it's very flexible. And I've also shared a tiered version on my channel as well, so you have the option of just a plain gathered skirt or a tiered gathered skirt. They're both really simple. The tiered one does take a few more extra steps, but it's a great project to practice your gathering skills, which again are very easy. Before I get into the next sewing pattern, let's just take a quick break to talk about the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to create a beautiful online presence and launch your passion project. Whether you'd like to start making and selling your own products, create a beautiful portfolio to showcase your work, write a blog, or simply create any website of any kind, you can design, build, and run your dream website all by yourself with Squarespace. You simply select from their range of beautifully designed templates, and once you've selected your template, you can then change it up as much or as little as you like. You can change everything from the overall layout of the website to all the fun things like the fonts and colors with just a few clicks. No background or knowledge needed in coding whatsoever. And now, thanks to Squarespace's new AI integrated design system called Design Intelligence, you're able to answer a few prompts and design questions, and Squarespace will create the website of your dreams to be able to run your business successfully. So if you'd like to create a website of your own, then I totally recommend you go and check out Squarespace using the link in the description below and take advantage of their free trial so you can test out just how easy it is to use for yourself. And then when you're ready to launch your beautiful new website, head to squarespace.com/roseryapparel for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you so much, Squarespace, for sponsoring this video and for being such an incredible supporter of my channel. The next dress pattern I have to share with you is the Clara pattern by Serger Patterns. I've only made one of these dresses so far, but I can already tell I'm going to be making more in the future because I wear that one dress all of the time. It's this really lovely elasticated and gathered dress. It's got a really deep neckline with elastic in it, so it's super easy again to throw on, and the elastic is just so comfortable. I can't begin to explain to you how comfortable the dress is. This version here is worn by Notes on Matter, and it's honestly just so lovely in this plain color. I've actually made mine out of a gingham fabric and it looks so good in prints, but as you can see, it just works so nicely with a plain fabric as well. And again, this is one of those patterns that looks really impressive, but when you actually sit down to make it, it's way easier than you expect. And when I was making my own version of the Clara dress, I kept thinking about how perfect this pattern would be for a beginner because yeah, the making process was just so straightforward and simple. Next up, I have another top pattern, and that is the Monty top sewing pattern by My Keeper. This pattern has been on my to make list for literally years now, and I need to get my act together and actually have a go at making it because it is stunning. It is this beautiful tie-up top with, again, the most incredibly beautiful statement sleeves. What I love about this top pattern is that it has a wrap design. So again, the fit of this is going to be super relaxed because in the end, you're just going to be tying it up at your waist anyway. I haven't actually made this pattern before, so I can't speak from experience, but the website does say it is beginner friendly, and just looking at it, I can already tell it's going to be a very straightforward make and perfect for beginners, still covering a few essential skills that you want to get the hang of doing and practice, but ultimately it will be a really satisfying make and the end result just looks stunning. The next make I have to share with you is another pattern-free project, and that is this elasticated rectangle dress that I shared on my channel about this time last year. So as the name suggests, it literally has just been made up from a few rectangles of fabric. The sort of project that can be completely waste free. You can just cut the width of your fabric out into a rectangle and then sew them together and then add some elasticated channels into the bodice to create the kind of stretchy gathered look at the top of the dress. And this dress also has just some really simple tie-up straps, super easy, again made from just a couple of rectangles. And yeah, it's a really easy project. I've shared the step-by-step process on my channel already, and I loved how this dress turned out. It is honestly such a simple but effective make. And yeah, this dress is just such a versatile one to have in your wardrobe because it layers really nicely with turtlenecks underneath, but can also be worn on its own in the warmer months. It's just such a good year-round dress. Next, I have another rectangle dress that again does not require a pattern, and that is this shirred dress here. Shirred dresses have just been all the rage for the last few years, and I feel like they're not going away anytime soon. They are, again, one of those types of dresses that looks really impressive, but when you learn just how easy shirring is, you'll honestly just be so surprised at how simple it is, and your machine basically does all the work for you. So like I said, this dress is also made from just a bunch of rectangles, and then once you've sewn those rectangles together, you actually have to start shirring. And shirring is a technique where you gather up the fabric using an elasticated thread in the bobbin of your sewing machine. I've again shared the full step-by-step process in a previous video, so if you wanted to learn how to go about that process, I'll leave that video linked below as well. Once you've got that elasticated bobbin in your sewing machine, you just stitch as normal and the fabric magically gathers up and becomes stretchy. It is the most satisfying process. It does take a bit of time, you have to have a bit of patience, but I just always just pop a podcast on, listen to some music, watch some TV while I'm stitching, and yeah, it's worth it for the results. And the last sewing pattern I have to share with you is another one of my Rosery Apparel sewing patterns, and that is my clover skirt. The clover skirt is like a 90s inspired A-line skirt with buttons all the way down the front. It is quite fitted, but it's so easy to adjust the fit as you're making it. I do think it's a really good one for beginners to try out. It's also super quick and super simple to make. It's just basically stitching a whole heap of panels together and then stitching some buttons down the front and you're done. The buttons might seem intimidating at first, but I promise you they are so easy to do. And once you've completed a whole skirt full of buttons and buttonholes, you're going to be a complete pro at them, and you'll be honestly surprised at just how easy they are to sew. Again, I've got a full tutorial on how to stitch buttons and buttonholes. It's really simple, and I go through a few different methods to go about it, whether you want to do it on your sewing machine or do it by hand. I've got a few options. So yeah, they are my best recommendations for sewing patterns for complete beginners. If you're just starting out in making your own clothes, any of these patterns would be a really good choice to start with. Like I said at the start of this video, I'll have all the patterns and tutorials linked in the description below, so you can go and check those out and potentially pick some of those patterns up for your own pattern collection. Making your own clothes is honestly such a joy. It's such a great hobby to get into, and there's no better feeling than wearing something you've made with your own hands. It's honestly such a fulfilling hobby to have. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video and that it has inspired you to have a go at making some of these garments for your own wardrobe. And be sure to subscribe to my channel for more sewing related videos like this one. Have a lovely day and thanks for watching.